Well, why am I making this video? Why am I spilling out the secrets of the Duolingo company? Well, that's basically because I'm practically a dead man walking now. It all started at the beginning of the year when I completely stopped my Duolingo streak. And so now that I'm pretty certain that it's only a matter of time before something happens, I am going to be talking about all the secret lives of the characters and the crimes of the green owl we all know. I'm also doing this because the fans have been asking about it for a long time and MatPat's not doing it. Anyways, let's just begin. I have made a whole checklist of things I want to get down and talk about in this video, starting off with Duo the Owl himself. If you've clicked on this video, you probably know all the memes that have been going on about how Duolingo is a ruthless owl who tortures the people who don't do their Spanish lessons. These were all just funny memes and stuff, until the company started confirming all of these things that were happening. On their YouTube channel, there would be a very famous video of a lawyer suing the Duolingo bird, basically confirming how Duo the Owl would be doing all of these crimes. Since then, Duo has been taking over all of the official Duolingo social medias, and he would occasionally threaten people with it. And while doing my research, I found a whole lot of stuff that I will be covering at the end of the video. And that's because I want to talk about all of the characters from the Duolingo universe. There are a ton of characters that we see throughout the Duolingo app while we do our Spanish lessons. And there was a really cool detail that I found, which is that all of the characters come in pairs. The first duo that is up is Lily and Zari. Lily and Zari are teenagers who are also best friends, and they're also polar opposites. Lily is very emo, and Zari is really happy and always excited to do whatever. There is also Oscar and Vikram. They have one of those relationships where Vikram is the really annoying and energetic one, and Oscar is just really annoyed by Vikram all the time. One thing to mention though is that from the stories we can see that Oscar is Lily and Zari's teacher. And what we're going to see a lot of is how all of the characters know each other. But moving on, we also have Eddie and Junior, the father-son duo. Eddie just really likes to work out a ton and is a bit of a meathead, and his son, Junior, just really likes to talk about frogs and cause mischief. B and Duo are also considered a duo because they both have basically the same energy. They're both really energetic and hyped up, willing to get people to do their lessons. So that means that B is a human duo, but I don't see her as being as murderous as the owl is. Our last pair is Lucy and her grandmother Lynn. Now Lucy is just a character, we don't really care about her, but Lynn is the really interesting one. She is the cool grandmother who lets Lucy live at her house, mostly because she doesn't really want to get a job or do anything. Apparently, Lynn used to be a super spy, and she's really athletic even for her own age, and she also does extreme sports, etc. And apparently, one time she went on a date with Oscar. I don't know what's that about, but that just exists. So that makes up all 10 of the characters, right? Well, not exactly, because the bear also exists. He's always there in the background, he's sometimes seen with the gang, but never talks or really does anything, so we don't really know anything about him. He is the most mysterious character. I mean, we even see Falstaff in Duolingo ABC. Duolingo ABC is one of the weirdest ones to cover, because the bear is there in the background, but there is also a Kid Zari and Kid Eddie at the same time, which doesn't make sense and shouldn't be possible because they are completely different ages. Or maybe they aren't. It was never confirmed the ages or where they are or anything. Zari could be a grown woman and is just in college, for all we know. Speaking of which, that is a great segue for my next topic that I want to cover. We know all of these current characters that have been around for a long time, but there were also a bunch of character designs that were kind of just left in the past. Here is a model of how all of the current characters could have looked like, but they changed them to look a little more friendly like they do today. While doing my research, I also found out apparently the mascots could have been like aliens or robots, and that's why these humans are so quirky, because originally they were supposed to be a little more extra. But ultimately the company decided to include humans because they're more relatable to us. And yeah, that pretty much sums up everything I have on the characters. Now I'm going to return to the topic of Duo the Owl that I briefly touched upon at the beginning. And I am going to explain how Duolingo is the company mascot. I mean, I guess I need to explain this a little. In all of the art renders, Duolingo is pretty small, so when he appears in real life as this big mascot that is human-sized, it brings up some questions if that is actually Duo, because the mascot is a costume and we don't actually know who could be underneath there. It could be a human. And this theory would actually make sense because in the app, Duo is super cheerful and never shows off his dark side. But whenever we see the mascot, it's always very creepy, and yeah, the mascot is more terrifying than seeing Duo at his actual size, which is smaller. Anyways, this is explained in the video Duo's Workday. This is a short little animation where we can see Duo the Owl running Duolingo. He sends his little messages and he tries to encourage people to continue their streaks, but there's also a button with the mascot, and when he finally breaks and pushes it, he puts on his suit. And this just completely removes any theory that the murderous one is a human and is actually just completely the owl. It's been the owl the whole time. And looking at how Duo is running the company, I decided to hack the satellites and see where their company is. Just kidding, I pulled up maps and I found their headquarters. Apparently they also have a nice little cute cafe. But yeah, from the outside I couldn't really see anything. Inside, we've seen videos that there are a bunch of people working, and Duo must be around there somewhere as well. So now that we know that Duo is the one that is guilty of everything, we know that the Duolingo posts made on social media are made by him as well, because they are some of the most unhinged things I have ever seen. There are also two more social media subjects I want to talk about. First off, the company Macheti and Sons is the opposition to Duo the Owl, which is willing to give money in court, but even they can't restore the family members lost to Duo the Owl. Linked to this video, there is also a telephone number, and when you call it, you're supposed to get a little pre-recorded message, which actually doesn't really lead to anywhere. But actually, they got rid of this phone number, so if you try to call them, you will get a poor person's phone number instead, and I bet that person has been called non-stop. Duo never got caught in court though, so he was able to make his own Peacock show. Yes, this was a collaboration with the streaming service Peacock for a series called Love Language. Now, if we further inspect this is not actually a real show, but we do get to see some shows that Duo watches, and he watches Caillou. That's how you know he's at the bottom. I have no respect for him. But even if I don't respect him, I have begun to fear him, because over time you will realize that Duo is slowly turning into a diva. I don't know how else to describe this type of person. This is like the worst type of person, the one that always thinks that they're the best and they're always on top, and that, if that doesn't bring fear into me, I don't know what does. I mean, it doesn't even scare me that he commits all of these crimes and he has all this power, but the type of person he's become, seriously. I mean, here, I'm just gonna show you what I'm talking about. In total, they planned out 40 episodes, but only 29 were able to be made, because Duo refused to spend the budget on anything other than him. For this show, the gimmick would be that all of the contestants have to flirt or chat with each other in a new language that they had to learn using the Duolingo app. Anyone who was caught would vanish from the house and will be held in confinement for the remainder of the show. This was a specific procedure that was demanded by Duo the Owl, and all of these contestants willfully agreed to these terms. Now, apparently the reason this show isn't out is because Duo the Owl refuses to approve any of the final edits. Duo insists that he is declared the winner of the show. One day while filming, Duo the Owl shoved one of the actors into the swimming pool because she has not completed her Spanish lessons. Now, what's interesting here is that the Duolingo team denies this footage exists. That means that the company is protecting him, which does make sense. Apparently, Macheti and Sons is also back to inspect what Duolingo might be doing there. But we'll never know any more about this show because the creators of Love Language ultimately decided to remove that scene so that they wouldn't risk angering Duo the Owl in fear of what he might do to them. So yeah, I think that's enough to show what kind of person the owl is. But Duo may not even be the owl that he claims to be. I mean, have you ever seen an owl typing and managing a company? And also, do owls duplicate? No, they don't. Here we see Duo doing something that I believe to be asexual reproduction, which I learned in biology that it means that a few species of animals can make perfect clones of each other. But those animals are not owls, so Duo must not actually be an owl either. I've been able to cover and explain all of the other topics of this video, but this is one that I truly can't. Duo might be an alien, Duo might be a robot. Actually, not a robot, robots can't replicate. Duo could be anything other than an owl. But I do know one thing. Duo is scary and I need to prepare for my inevitable disappearance. Or not. If I can, I'll try to make more of these types of videos on the topic of Duolingo. Because in a weird way, it has been fun. I mean, sure, there might be a bounty on my head now, but what's life without a little risk? I'll catch you in the next one.